So, when I woke up this morning, the first thing I did was I grabbed my phone and scrolled through Twitter, loaded up X, scrolled through the timeline. And I see that Paul Merson says that Ivan Toney should be in the England Euro 2024 squad for his penalties over Ollie Watkins. And I feel like when people look at Toney, look at everything Toney's done, look at everything Toney's said, look at everything around Ivan Toney, they see a different image to what I see. Because yes, Toney is an exceptional footballer, a very, very good finisher. But is he really at the levels that people put him at? Is he really this good? Because Ollie Watkins this season has been one of the best players in the Premier League. Every time I've watched Ollie Watkins, he's been a threat. Whether that's getting goals, assists, creating chances, just being there, causing the back line a nuisance. Ollie Watkins is a very, very good footballer, and I've always thought that. Same way I think that Toney's a good footballer, and I thought Toney's a good footballer for quite a while now. But I definitely think Watkins is better. I think Watkins is more versatile and definitely more important to the England squad, because Toney's not starting for England, Watkins isn't starting for England, but because Kane's obviously going to be the 9. But if you're going to bring Toney on, then you have to bring Kane off, because Toney can only play as that 9. And he's basically going to play a very similar game to Kane. Whereas if you bring Watkins on, he can come on the left, for whoever's on the left, let's say Grealish or Rashford. And he can also come on up top in the striker position to replace Kane and bring up something a bit different and play a bit of a different game in case, deploying Kane in his role isn't working. You can kind of switch it up, play a bit differently if you bring on Watkins. So he definitely brings something different to the team in an England perspective. And I'd even put Solanke in front of Toney, because obviously Toney's not played much football this season given his suspension, which we'll get onto later. But when he has played, I still think that Solanke's been better, and Solanke has got far worse service compared to what Toney's dealing with, in my opinion. And again, when it comes to Toney, I just think he's got too big of an ego, and compared to his footballing ability, like his ego and his footballing ability aren't on the same level, and his ego is higher up than his footballing ability, which is a problem, and which is not something you really want in the England setup. It's not really something you want, especially when he's not going to be the main man. Is Toney going to hack not being the main man? And then, as I mentioned, that he was obviously banned for what? Was it 6 months, 10 months? I can't remember the exact amount of time he was banned, but he was banned for gambling. He was banned for placing bets on football, yeah? Which he admitted to doing. But he'll still act like he's hard done by and act like it's not his fault. And everyone gave this whole, he's back, he's fine, his return. And everyone made a big media circus about his return. But then you have players like David Brooks and the guy that used to play for Newcastle back in the day, the Argentinian guy, Gutierrez, I can't remember his first name, the guy that had cancer. Obviously both these guys had cancer. Being able to beat it and come back to football, a very inspirational story, something that should be admired, really. But they don't get the hype of a return that Toney got. And obviously I know one was years ago, but another one was fairly recent in the sort of same time span as Toney. And I just think to myself, like, is this really, you really want to make a big deal about someone returning from a punishment? And that punishment actually being not something, them being punished for something they didn't do, but it's a punishment for their own actions. Like, is that really what you want to be celebrating, someone coming back after being punished? I don't really think it sets a good precedent. And it's like back in 2014, 2015 when Suarez was coming back from his ban for biting Ivanovic. Oh no, not biting Ivanovic even, it was Chiellini he banned and got bit and got banned at the World Cup. Imagine if everyone was like, oh he's back, and just made a huge big deal about it. I'm just like, is this sort of the behaviour you want to be promoting at the end of the day? I personally don't really get it. And I think, touching on his ego again, the way he speaks about Brentford is very disrespectful to the club, given everything they've done for him. They've given him the chance in Premier League football. They stood by him even and supported him throughout his ban, which some bigger clubs might not have done. Let's say, for example, Arsenal, the team he's heavily linked with, yeah? If he got banned well at Arsenal, I feel like they would have moved on from Toney because they need to compete at that high level and they need that striker. So they would have found a replacement, replaced Toney, and then it would have been harder for him to get back in the squad, and they might not have given him the support that Brentford did. And for him to talk about them the way he has in the past and still continues to is very disrespectful. Always saying that he basically just says that he's bigger than Brentford and needs to get a move away from Brentford. Always talking about this big move that's coming for him. Recently saying in an interview, and he could have definitely been joking. I can see both sides of it being interpreted as a joke, and I can also see it being interpreted as seriously. But let's take the latter and say he was being deadly serious. Yeah, he said that he'd get a big money move. Brentford would get the money and he'd go to Madrid. Like Madrid, the same Madrid that are signing Mbappe. Like, where are you, Ivan? Where are you going in that? Where are you fitting in that squad? Because I can't see it. If I can't see you fitting in the England squad, then I can't see you fitting in the Real Madrid squad, and that's just how it is. And I just think that he should not take everything he has, the support he has for Brentford, for granted, because I'm surprised they're so patient with him and still give him so much support after the public disrespect that he's given them over the last 2 years, maybe even 3 years, but it's been around 2 years. Because I wouldn't take it for granted, because what happens if he goes to a bigger club, an Arsenal, for example, yeah? And it's just not working. It's not working. He'd instantly be crying out, be like, oh, I miss Brentford. Because Arsenal fans, top 6 fans, they will get on to you if you don't hit the ground running, and if you aren't putting in consistent performances, especially as a striker. If you're not scoring goals as a striker, the top 6 fans will be ruthless and get onto you and not give you the patience and the leeway you've been afforded at Brentford by the fans and by the club. So he'd definitely be crying out for a move to go back, in my opinion. So I don't think he should take it for granted, because he always talks a big talk about how he wants a big money move. But look at Grealish in his first season. Things weren't going well for Grealish in his first season. Let me move my bike. Things weren't going well for Grealish in his first season, and look at the way he was treated, and even talks about how Grealish even talked about how that made him feel. And obviously, fair play to Jack for bouncing back and becoming a very important player to us last season and this season as well, and being instrumental in us winning the treble. But does Toney really want to be in the position that Jack was in his first season? And it would be even worse for Toney, because he's generated hype around himself, whereas Grealish's hype was generated by his price tag and him off the back of the Euros, whereas Toney's hype is generated by himself. And again, I'm not saying he's a bad footballer. Last season, I thought he was very, very good, and I thought he was very unlucky to miss out on going to the World Cup. But this season, after his ban, yeah, he's scored goals, but I don't think he's been great. I don't think he's shown why he should be playing for a top club, and I don't think he's shown why he should be at the Euros. I think because it's not just about ability, is it? Like when you're signing a player, especially as a top club, there are many things you have to look at. You obviously do look at ability, but then you look at availability. You look at a player like Thiago, for example. Yeah, he has all the ability in the world, but his availability is not there, and he's literally just sat on Liverpool's wage bill, earning money, doing nothing, playing potentially 1-2 games a season. His availability is not there. Attitude. Let's look at Jadon Sancho, for example. It is said that the reason he didn't work at United is because of his attitude. I personally think it was a 50-50 between Ten Hag and him. I don't think it was solely down to Sancho's attitude, but if we're to believe everything that's said, it was down to Sancho's attitude. Bam. Didn't work for him. Toney fits into that latter bracket of he has a bit of an attitude problem. He he doesn't like it when things aren't going his way. Clearly, in the way he reacted to his ban for gambling, and I just think you have to look at all of those things. And apparently, Arsenal don't want to sign Toney now because they don't think he's a very nice person after his or a problematic person after his argument on the pitch with Gabriel. So again, he's potentially thrown away a potential big move that he's been catting for a year now by his conduct on the pitch. And I can't see any other team. I can't see what other big team are going in for him. Spurs maybe, because I've been hearing rumours that they might be moving on Richarlison. Chelsea maybe, but they'd have to offload Lukaku first. Like, you know, Liverpool have a striker, United have a striker, City have a striker. Arsenal are seen to not be in the race for him. That where would Toney go? Where would he go? Villa have a striker, Newcastle have a striker. Like, where does he go? But I might be being a bit too harsh. You know, this is just my opinion at the end of the day. You guys can let me know your opinions down in the comments, whether you think he should be going to the Euros, whether you think he's overrated, or where you think he'll end up in the summer. And if you've made it to the end of the video, comment Watkins 2024 in the comments if you made it to the end of the video. And before I end today's video, I'm just going to talk about in my community tab, I mentioned that I got a new video schedule coming out, and it will be a video every other day at 6 p.m. And if you guys show enough support by getting driving up the like numbers, driving up the views in the first couple hours, and you know, just within like the first 24 hours as a good view and like ratio, then I will move that schedule to a daily upload at 6 p.m. obviously every day. And that will just be videos like this where I sit down and I talk, you know, just about, you know, whatever, like the videos I've been doing recently, innit? That's not to say video essays are done, because there definitely will still be coming, but I just want to be able to take more time with them. And if I'm uploading videos while working on them, it just gives me less incentive to rush them, and I can take more time and produce a better video. I've got one in the works now, and I think it will be good when it's finished. So yeah, that's all I've really got to say. Like the video if you enjoyed. Comment down below Watkins 2014 if you've got to this point. Comment down below your opinions, suggestions for the new videos, and also subscribe, share the video with your friends. It really does help the channel out. And yeah, I've been Nathan. See you in my next video, which is not tomorrow, but it'll be the day after. Peace.
Shut down cases, they belly dots to the can't see faces, chasing the bad guy chase it. You don't wanna be the one like Ace and like G-Takes and turn them out wasted. Aye, tell a bad bitch come break it, body come mad, come shake it, then get back to the basics, bro, done shut down cases, they belly dots to the